Hello friends, this is Pradeep Yadav. I welcome you on my channel The Knowledge Adda. This is my last video of the Corona series. Today I am going to discuss contact tracing for COVID-19 prevention. Also I will discuss what is difference between isolation and quarantine and how you can define or how you can calculate the period of isolation and quarantine. And I will discuss many things here. You can see once you finish this video, you should be able to do a number of things, including describe what contact tracing and how it can be used to stop transmission of SARS coronavirus 2. You should be able to define what we mean by case of COVID-19 and also be able to define what a contact means. You should be able to explain the meaning and purposes of isolation and quarantine. You should be able to calculate how long a case should isolate and how long a contact should quarantine based on what we know about the infectious period. And also you should be able to describe the connection between the infectious period in isolation and quarantine. So, let us talk now about contact tracing and how it is used for COVID-19 prevention. Every case of COVID-19 that is diagnosed requires action. We have to act, and there are a number of ways that we have to act. First, we need to support the person who is infected. It is important that we act to ensure that they have access to medical care and any social services they may need. They need to be able to access treatment. Right now, we only have basic supportive treatments available, but one day if we have other treatments or curative treatments, they would need to be identified so they can be offered those curative treatments. We also need to act to be sure that those cases are limiting their contact with other people. This is important because someone who is infected can infect others, and part of our goal as a public health practitioner is to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So, when we are diagnosed a case, we need to find them, offer them medical support and also make sure they are changing their behavior to limit their contact with other people to reduce the risk of transmission. Next, we have to also identify all the people that they may have infected. We have to notify them about their exposure and offer them some social services that they may need. If they develop signs and symptoms, we also need to make sure they have access to medical care and offer them treatment. And importantly, we need to limit their contact with other people. So, once we find who have been exposed, those people could become infectious and then infect other people. So, if we can get them to change their behavior, we can limit transmission onwards. So, basic idea behind contact tracing is that if we can limit contact between people who are infected and others, then we can limit opportunities for this virus to be transmitted, and this is vitally important for COVID-19. This is one of the best ways that we can limit the spread of this disease. Now, just talking about this slide, let us also recall the timeline of infection and infectiousness. So, here we can see that someone has been infected. You can see in the orange line here their incubation period, and that is time between when they become infected and when they develop signs and symptoms. Then you can see in the blue line, after they develop signs and symptoms, how long they will have the disease. And then in yellow line you can see again the time period that is the person infectious, and that means the time period when they can infect other people. This timeline shows that people can infect others up to 2 days before they themselves feel ill, particularly on their day of illness and throughout their illness period. Now, if we assume that someone is infected or exposed to this person and infected on the day that person becomes sick, if we assume they have a 5-day incubation period, they are going to become ill 5 days later. We can also think about their infectious period, which would begin 2 days before they become sick and would last throughout their illness period. So, the point of contact tracing is to find those contacts and ask them to stay home so that they do not infect anybody else. And as you may recall, that window of opportunity to find them before they themselves become infectious and could infect someone else in pretty quick. And so, this is important to keep in mind when you are finding contacts and tracing contacts. This whole system of finding cases and contacts has to happen on a very short timeline to be optimally effective. Isolation and quarantine, which we will define shortly in next slide. I am going to discuss what is difference between quarantine and isolation. You know, both can have a big impact on reducing transmission because they serve to limit contact between people who are infectious and others. And as we know, stopping just one transmission chain can prevent many future cases. As you can see here, if each infected person infects 2 other people, an outbreak can grow very quickly. However, if we can stop just one of those people from being infected at each step, we can easily have a big impact on the total size of the outbreak and reduce transmission. Here in this picture you can see if basically we have to stop this chain reaction. In this picture you can see if each infected person infects 2 other people, here each infected person infect 2 other people, they will infect 2 other, they will infect 2 other. So, that can be create a large outbreak. In this picture you can see if we can stop just one of those people from being infected at each step, we can really have a big impact on the total size of outbreak. So, now let me be very clear and define what mean by case, contact, isolation and quarantine. Those are important concepts that you will have to really understand well throughout the rest of the video. So, let us define what a case is and what a contact is. A case of someone who has COVID-19, someone who could infect others, usually this is defined by the positive laboratory test, a PCR test usually, and we have already discussed about that in some earlier slide. I think you can recall that point from my last video where I have discussed everything regarding the cases. Sometimes we may refer to cases that are suspect cases, which means they may not have had a test yet, but we think they probably have the disease. So, that could be someone that you know was exposed to another infectious patient. So, you think they probably have it, but they just have not had their test yet, but sometimes we refer to them as a case as well. So, a contact is someone who had contact with a case while they are infectious. So, basically this is someone who has been exposed to someone who was infectious. and we care about context because they could have been infected, and because of that they need to take some special precaution. And we have three kinds of contact. We are going to discuss one by one. So, if you recall, a case is infectious during their illness and 2 days after before their illness begins. So, you will want to identify people who had some kind of contact with them during their infectious period. I mean, we talk about contacts. So, there are really three different kinds of contact that we could think about. The first one is a physical contact. So, anyone that had physical contact with someone who is infectious is at risk for infection, they are definitely a contact. We also talk about close contact. I want to define what a close contact means. So, this means someone who may not have had any physical contact at all, but was close to person who is infectious. They were within 6 feet of this person for at least 50 minutes or more. Now, 50 minutes is just a standard guidelines for that. In some places, they will ask about close contacts who were nearby the case for the 10 minutes or 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes. There is some flexibility that can be vary from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. It depends upon the situation and places also. There is a third type of contact that you may also want to know, those people who have been in same room for an extended period, maybe an hour or more with the infectious person, but they were more than 6 feet away. So, sometimes these people could also be at risk. They may have had contact with the same surface. For example, someone who is infectious, these are called proximate contacts, and sometime you will also be looking for these types of contacts when you are doing contact tracing. So, definitely in this slide you can see here there are three type of contacts. One is physical contact here, second is close contact within 6 feet for and 15 plus more minutes, that can be vary from 10 to 30 minutes, and third one is proximate contact. Now, let us define what we mean by isolation versus quarantine. Both of these terms mean that someone is going to distance themselves from the people. Someone is going to stop having contact with other people, but they mean slightly different things. So, let us be clear about this. Just I am now going to define what is difference between isolation and quarantine. Please listen carefully, then you can find out what is difference. Isolation means keeping sick people separate from others, from healthy people or any other person. We are talking about sick people in case of isolation. This can be done within home, so you can restrict yourself to your home. If you live with other people, you would also need to keep from having contact with other people even within the home. If you are unable to do that within your home, then you may need to go somewhere else to isolate yourself from other people. In some places, people may go to hotel or find another place where they can have a separate from others. In hospital, patient will have to have a separate space and have very limited contact with anyone except healthcare workers who are wearing the appropriate masks, gloves and gowns to keep them safe. This is basically some definition of isolation. Now, how long should someone isolate from other people? Well, it should be for the duration of their infectiousness, and as we already discussed, that will start 2 days before the onset of their illness, and it will last through the duration of their illness. Some people are sick longer than others, so their infectious period will be longer than others too. But in general, we would say that someone can stop isolating themselves from others safely if it has been at least 10 days after the onset of their illness, all of their symptoms are improving and they have not had any fever within the past 3 days, and they also have not been taking any medicine. So, it is very important to check that. Now, comes to quarantine. So, quarantine means restricting the movement of contact of healthy people who have been exposed with other people. So, we isolate a case, but we quarantine contacts because they have been exposed and they could become infectious. Contacts should be quarantined for 14 days since the last contact they had with the infectious patient, the person who may have infected them. So, it is important to know when their contacts was to be able to figure out how long they need to quarantine. Now, just coming towards how we can calculate the period of isolation and quarantine. As a contact tracer, you will need to be able to calculate how long a case should isolate and how long a contact should quarantine themselves. It will based on your understanding of their infectious period, and it will be an important component of working with cases and contacts to limit the spread of disease. So, let us go through some example, very practical example using a calendar to see how this might work. So, how long should a case be isolated from others? Well, the short answer is ideally as long as they are infectious, but there is also a long answer. We know that by the time they are diagnosed, they may already be risk. So, by the time you are investigating this case, their infectious period has already started, probably at least a few days before. So, you will need to talk them about isolating themselves for the duration of their infectious period. They will have to monitor their symptoms each day to help you determine if they are still infectious and if they are recovered. And remember, they will need to isolate themselves at least 10 days after symptoms onset, and you will be have to know that their symptoms are improving and they have not had fever for 3 days. So, let us see practically what this will look like. Let us assume that you identify a case and you call them on 10th of May. During the conversation with them, they tell you that they become ill on 9th May. So, now you know that they were infectious for 2 days before they become ill, and they will be infectious for at least 10 days after their onset. So, that means 9th May plus 10th May equal 19th. So, you can see here in blue their total infectious period, which is started 2 days before their onset of disease and went all the way through May 19th, which is 10 days after the onset. So, total days will be 19th, means May 9 plus 10 days, that equal to represent 19th May. So, we know that the case will be infectious at least through May 19th in this example, but you will need to have continuing follow up to see when they can stop isolating from others, because you will need to know when their symptoms resolve without use of medication. So, the 19th is the earliest time that they can stop isolating, but just remember that you need to be following up with them to see if they can really stop isolating on the 19th or not. So, on this slide the days of their infectious period are shown in the blue, and we assume that we call the cases on May 10th, and you are going to ask them about the contacts they had since 7th May. Those are shown in also in yellow. Here you can see here this portion we are talking about. We assume that after you call them, so from 10th through May 9th, they are isolating themselves, so they are not going to have any additional contacts. So, in your discussion with them on May 10th, you will need to list out everyone they had contacts with since 7th May. Now that you have identified these contacts, you will need to help them calculate how long they should quarantine. So, how long should a contact stay in quarantine or distance themselves from others? The short answer is ideally as long they could be infectious, which means 40 days since their last contact with someone who is infectious. So, there is a longer answer also. Again, it is 14 days since their last contact, because we know almost everyone who is infected will develop illness within 14 days. So, for example, if they live with case, they lived with someone who is infectious, so that will require some additional calculations. It is important to know that also that when you are having a conversation with contacts, if they have developed symptoms, they should probably be considered a case, and so then you would talk to them about isolating rather than quarantine. Now, let us think through a specific example. Remember the case we already talked about. Well, let us assume that you are going to call one of their contacts, and you are able to have conversation with this contact on 13th May. On the call with this contact, you understand that their last interaction was on 10th May. If you recall, that is the second day of illness for the cases, so they should receive instruction quarantine for 40 days since their last exposure to their case. If their last exposure was on 10th May, you would add 14 days, and so that would mean that they should quarantine through 24th May, means May 10 plus 14 days equal to 24th May, means that will represent 24th May. So, we already mentioned that if a contact lives with a case, then figuring out their quarantine period could be bit more difficult, because their quarantine period going to be longer. So, the contacts should quarantine themselves immediately, and then also for 14 days following recovery of the case, because that would be last time they had contact with an infectious case. So, for some contacts, quarantine is going to be longer than 14 days. Let us just see what would look like on the calendar. Let us assume same scenario, we call the contact on the 13th May, and it is same case, but they live with the case this time. So, the person that they live with become ill on 9th May. So, this is the case we talked about before. Let us also assume that the case will be fully recovered by the 19th. This would be 10th days since their onset of illness. So, therefore, if the contact has to quarantine themselves for 14 days after their last infectious contact, then they would need to quarantine through 2nd June, because that would be 2 weeks after the full recovery of the case. that they lived with. So, you can see in this example where the context lives with the case, their quarantine period is going to be almost 3 weeks long, because they will have to quarantine themselves while they are still having contact with the case and for 2 weeks after. So, basically in this video I have already discussed what is difference between quarantine and isolation, and how you can calculate the days of quarantine, and how in which cases the quarantine period can be longer as if you are living with live contact. So, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, please comment and please share. This is my last video on the Corona series. So, thank you for watching. If you want any more information about Corona, definitely you can watch my last video, my previous video. I have already created a playlist regarding the Corona. Definitely in that playlist you can find other video also. Thank you for watching this. Thank you.